Good afternoon, friends, followers and channel members. Here comes the dodgy jetway once again. This is where we left last night, and I see that the engineers have not managed to do anything with the jetway since then. It is still a mess. Never mind. Right, here we are in Berlin. It's looking rather cloudy, isn't it? And today we've got a very special flight for you as we head into Tivat, which is, as the description for the video says, it's usually a captain's only landing. As just saw someone ask a question, how do you know it's a captain's only landing? Well, that's designated by the airline. So for Easyjet anyway, it's a captain's only landing, which means obviously exactly as it sounds. It's not straightforward, it's quite difficult, and we've got some great scenery from Orbx, so big thanks to them for providing that for this flight. So a good afternoon to our channel members, Scott, Christian, Brian, Hyacinth as well, Pilot Pat, Fitzy, great to see you all, and Dark Fury as well. Right, let's go in and start setting up. It's quite a long flight, this one, for a midday flight. Callum, perfect timing, you can watch while studying chemistry. This is more physics than chemistry. Now, one of the things we are going to... Why are my engines running? I've just hit fly now, and my engines are running. That's a bit strange, isn't it? Right, well, if the engines are running, can I shut those down? Because that's not right. Nice to see I'm in a decent turnaround state, but it looks like the pilots before us had just thought, sod it, I'm off. Okay. Let me just get the ground power unit connected up. Oh, external power is on as well. External power is on and the engines are running. Well, that's something different. Nick, good afternoon. Right, let's shut all that down. Oh, Microsoft Flight Simulator's just never been the same, has it, since the last update. All sorts of strange goings on happening, not only with the engines running, the main door is open as well. So, have we got those shut down? We've got those shut down now. I've also got flaps 1 out. I'm almost out, was pretty much in a takeoff state, wasn't I? Well, let's just go through and check everything as it should be. So, crew supply is back on. The ADIRs are aligned, that's okay. Nav lights are on. Beacon, strobe lights, they can come off. Now I've shut the engines down, they can come off. They can come off. I'm going to leave the seatbelt signs off for now. The no smoking signs should be on auto. Emergency signs are armed. We need refuel, so let's turn those fuel pumps off. There we go. Adam on Facebook, hello to you. Danny, the airplane wants to get out before the dark cloud ahead comes. Yeah, I can agree with that. Right, well, now the overhead is done, let's try and get this sorted. I'm not quite sure what's going on here, to be fair. And from SimBrief, will that information pull itself through? Should we try that again? Sometimes it takes a couple of times. Oh, there we go. Not sure what's going on with the map, though. The map seems rather balked. Anyway, 1013, our QNH here at Berlin. 1013, we'll get that down. Let's have a look at the weather in Tivat. I'm hoping it's runway 14. We're going to, sorry, runway 32, and not runway 14. Runway 14 is a even more difficult approach, circle to land approach. Runway 32, though, still not without its difficulties. 7.2 tons, and let's see what the weather is planning on being like in Tivat. So our destination airport, 240 at 17 knots gusting, ceiling visibility okay. So wind could change, we're going to have to keep an eye on that as we come in. But those winds are gusting. Now, go-arounds are very common at this airport, so we're going to load plenty of fuel just in case. What was the planned block? Okay, so planned block is 7.16. If we take an extra ton on top of that, so if we take 8.2, we'll take 8.2 tons of fuel. Let's get that loaded in. select that to real time. We've got some funky music this afternoon while we start, haven't we? Refueling, or rather defueling, is now on its way and being undertaken. As defueling takes place, then shall we start getting some passengers on board as well? Courtesy of self-loading cargo, of course. So let me just get that set up for you guys, get you all on board. Are the landing lights on? No, the landing lights aren't on. For some reason, self-loading cargo is telling me to shut everything down. Everything is down. It needs to be a cold and dark state. I don't really want to do that because that means I've got to disconnect external power. Definitely don't want to do that. So do you know what? We'll just crack on. Anyway. Let me just... In fact, this is the sort of flight I really would like self-loading cargo working for. It helps with the immersion. So if I just turn off the external power, does that mean we can get self-loading cargo working? I'd probably have to turn the batteries off as well, to be fair. William, thank you so much for your support. Welcome to the channel. Do you know, I don't think self-loading cargo is going to work at all. Never mind. How annoying. Oh well. Anyway, as you were. So, yeah, William, good to have you on board, mate. We'll give you some free drinks. Anyway, ignoring that little reset, everything is now okay and the ideas are still aligned. We've just tried to get the power taken away from it for self-loading cargo's benefit. Sadly not working though, so annoying. Never mind. Okay, so refueling, or rather defueling, is still underway. The overhead is now alright and set up correctly. Let me then come down and check. We've got 1013 set here. We've got the anti-skid on. Come down to the pedestal. Switching panels okay. VHF 2 121.5. That's the guard frequency. That's all right. Let's just turn the integral lights up. Thrust levers, idle, engine mode selector, engine masters, parking brake, rudder, spoilers, flaps, all good. Turn the transponder on. Pilot Pat self-crashing sim. Yes, another thing that's not seemed to work too well since the latest update, I'm afraid. Glare shield, our initial climb out is going to be 4,000 feet, so we shall set that. Flight directors 1 and 2 both on, 1013. And let's come down then to the instrument panel. Everything here should already be set up. It's quite bright at the minute, isn't it? So I'm just going to turn those up a little bit more, so hopefully you guys can see those as well. I'm going to get the first officer screens off, save the frame rates, all done. Okay, so let's come down now, and this is where we had a crash to desktop yesterday when trying to put the flight plan in, so let's hope we don't have a repeat of last night's issues. Init press. Our flight time today then is 1 hour 53 minutes. So then our payload, 171 passengers on board today, which is a payload of 17784. That is correct. Zero fuel weight of 58.8. Again, that is correct. And let's load that in. Oh, let me just alter the zero fuel weight a little bit. It's not normally as perfect as that, so I like to have it mixed up a little bit. There we go. Gross weight. Now we can go through IRS 3 nav green and aircraft status, LEAP engines, valid direct cycle. Oh, to the init page, init request. Okay, so our alternate today is where's that? Is that Pristina? No. Well, it could be. Bravo, Kilo, Papa, Romeo. Our flight plan today is Alpine, sorry, our call sign today is Alpine 4503. Again, this is a real world flight, which you'll be able to see on Flight Radar 24. I think it departed yesterday, and I think it's got a day off today, and it takes off again tomorrow. Flight level 390, minus 49. Yeah, I wonder if live weather's actually going to show minus 49. Tropopause is about 35,000 feet, so we'll just update that. And clear the scratch pad there. Okay, the flight plans. So we're going to be departing runway 7 right on the RSAP 1 Zulu. Strangely enough, the operational flight plan says 1 Quebec, but we're not, we're doing the 1 Zulu. And then the arrival is the Lock 32 Zulu, at the moment anyway, and it is the Pod 3 Bravo arrival. Pod 3 Delta, Pod 3 Bravo. And that is via Alivu. And insert. 763 miles, 767 miles on the operational flight plan, so that's all good. Let's have a quick look at the charts. Do we need anything with regards to our departure? We can put the Brandenburg VOR in here just for situational awareness. Bravo, Bravo, India. There we are. And let's go to the Init B page. So zero fuel weight is 58.8, zero fuel weight center of gravity 30.5. Trip wind, what's our trip wind today? Trip wind is a tailwind of 4. I don't think that's going to get us there much quicker, is it? Tailwind of 4, and should take us around 6 tons to get there. We have got 8.2, let's call it 8.1. By the time the APU's burnt some fuel off. And the alternate is around 1.7 tons of fuel, so let's update that. 1.7 tons. 41 minutes of extra flying time for go-arounds and things like that. As I say, they are commonplace at this airport. Okay, that's all done. Onto the performance then. Transition altitude here in Berlin is 5,000 feet. Thrust reduction acceleration is, actually that's close enough, I'm happy to leave that. Flaps 1, it'll be a toga takeoff, and V2 is 138, VR is 134, V1 is 133. F, S and O speeds, let's just check if we got any speed restrictions on our departure. No we don't, no speed restrictions, so that's fine, we can clean up on schedule. Beautiful. Okay, so let's do our departure brief. We are parked stand Charlie 1-2 right at the end of the pier just here. So we're going to push back, we're going to face west, we're then going to taxi via Echo, down then onto Bravo. All the way down basically, straight down onto Bravo, and then we'll hold at Mike 2, holding point for runway 07 right. The departure is nice and straightforward, so straight out right hand turn almost immediately, and then we need to fly a heading of 080 after departure until this particular point here. Now this is quite important at Berlin because they do operate, although I don't think they're operating right now with this due to reduced traffic load, but at Berlin they do use simultaneous takeoffs, so this track up until this point here is very, very important. So obviously we make a right turn immediately. Any aircraft that would be taken off on the northern runway would continue straight out, just so it begins that separation. So what I want to do as well, I've just popped that in, haven't I? Bravo, Bravo, India. Yeah, that's fine. So it's 10.7 miles before we make that turn. Just making a note of that, so I've got it in front of me, and what we're going to do is we're going to turn on the VOR so we can see it down Refueling is complete. Let's get that on. Oh, I've been invited to a party. That's nice. APU, give that a count of 3. 1, 2, 3. And the APU can now start. Weather seems to be clearing a little bit. Sadly, there's no ATC as we depart, but I think we should have some en route. Showing flaps 1 config, aren't I? That shouldn't be right. That should be flap 0. Realistically, given the fact that we've no engine power, not quite sure how they got to flaps 1. They might not even retract, you know, until we've fired up the engines and the hydraulics are working correctly. Anyway, weather here at the airport is a little bit misty, but nothing to stop us returning here if we do have a problem after takeoff. We're below the maximum landing weight, so we can go straight back in here. Threats to be aware of: it's just generally a bit of a busy airport, and we've already said we want to go that heading of 080, which I can actually set now. So when we depart, we can keep that on right from the word go. Okay, in that case, it's all done. William, no, it doesn't cost. VATSIM is absolutely free. APU is up and running. APU bleed is on. Let's just turn the temperatures down a little bit. I am on live weather at the moment, but I will wait to see what happens with regards to the live weather. We may have to go for a preset. Hopefully, by the end of this week, I'll have had some time to get Rex sorted as a good backup. Okie dokies. So, before start checks to the line. I'm just checking that fuel as well is all loaded and balanced. So, copy preparation is all complete. Signs we have. Oh, there we go. I didn't have those on because we were refueling. Anyway, seatbelt signs are on and auto. Adheres 3.5 green. Fuel quantity is checked 8180 and it's balanced. FMGS is coded and set. Altimeter is 1013. So let's call our pushback tug and then we'll make an announcement on Unicom. Can hardly see these numbers since the update. 122.8. There we go. Now we're on Unicom.
Bravo traffic, Bravo 464, pushback and start, and Bravo 14, facing south.
So let me just have a quick look outside just to see if there's anything knocking around. No, I don't think we're going to get in the way of anybody's pushback there. That's okay. We've got probably the longest taxi. We're the furthest away from our airport. Easyjetsimpilot Rex Weather Force will fix the live weather problem. That's right. Madsip, this is Aerosoft's Berlin scenery. Absolutely fantastic. I love coming in to land at this airport. It's so very, very detailed. Berlin traffic, Alpine 4503. Parking stand, Charlie 12, pushing back, facing west on Echo. Okay. Tug is there. Let's get the rotating beacon light turned on. Nozzle steering is disconnected and acupressure's in the green. Let's get the transponder on and parking brake. Before start checklist below the line. Windows and doors are closed and armed. Rotating beacon light is on. Mobile phones on silent. Parking brake is on and we're going to release the parking brakes and we're going to start the push. So back we go, nice and gently. Let's get those engines started then. So starting engine 1, engine mode selector to ignition, and starting engine 1. Flight 123, do I stream every day? I stream whenever I've got a chance, mate. I love it, and you guys make it all the much more worthwhile. Juan, I'm not on the latest dev version. No. I just haven't updated for a couple of days. Flight Sim 123, the operational flight plan is pinned right at the top.
Traffic, régulièrement pour approche by contact Freeway Foxtrot.
Okay, let's get engine number 2 started. Engine number 1 is sorted. RPBC, what's the cruise mark for the A320? It all depends on the cost index, but anywhere between 0.78, 0.8 is pushing it a little bit. Nice long pushback. Just whilst that's going through, let's just check here. 30.5 the CFG. And then I'd best go back outside and have a look how this taxi's doing, because I have to taxi this on myself. Flight Sim 123, the flight time's in the video description. It's around 2 hours today.
Brandenburg traffic, Easy15 Foxtrot is taxiing via Echo Victor 2 Bravo to Mike Honeyshot, runway 7 right at Mike 2.
I have to remember as well, which is going to prove rather tricky with this approach, that the fact that you can't turn the aircraft whilst panning around visually is may prove a little bit of a problem.
464 taxiing via Victor 2 and Bravo 407 or right.
Nick, have you got a radio on in the background? Or is that me? Right, pushback is finished. Parking brakes on. Engine 2 is stabilized, so engine mode selected to norm. APU off. APU masters off. Ground control wasn't on. That's all fine. Spoilers, rudder, flaps 1. Set the trim. Okay, looking good. Okay, so let's run the after start checklist. Anti-ice not required, ECAM status is checked. Pitch trim is 30.5 and rudder set 0. Let's do a flight control check. Full left, full right, neutral. Full up, full down, neutral, rudder. Full right, rudder. Full left, and neutral. Okay, let's announce our taxi. Brandenburg traffic, Alpine 4503 taxi now via Echo onto Bravo, holding at Mike 2 for runway 07 right departure.
Flight attendants, please prepare for takeoff.
Have I not got predictive wind shear on? I thought I'd turn that on. Let's try that again. There we go. Hyacinth, do I think you need track IR for... I don't use it. It's quite expensive, isn't it, track IR? So I appreciate this is a long flight, guys. If you can't stick with us for the full stream, make sure you're back with us for the arrival. The arrival is something special. William, I don't set random failures. 1, because I think the system is unstable enough as it is. And 2, at the moment, there isn't really an aircraft, or certainly not an A320, that can simulate failures correctly. Perhaps when the Phoenix comes out, then that's when I'm going to start doing quite a few tutorial videos on different failures and different troubleshooting things, running ECAM drills, etc. Okay, so our departure briefing. No change to the performance. QNH still 1013. Engine out procedure. I have not done a full emergency brief for this flight, just because I'm a little short on time for that. But essentially, we'll be returning back to the airport for our landing.
Right via Foxtrot Victor 2 Bravo and Mike 3.
A little bit quick there in the turn. No faster than 10 knots in the turns. And what's the maximum taxi speed in a straight line? Anybody know the answer for that? For the A320? So we're now on to Bravo. Not sure what's going on with my spoilers again. Adam on Facebook says 15 knots. Dark Fury says 15 knots. That's 2 opting for 15. Dodgy sim pilot, you have enough trouble keeping the aircraft in the air without failures. Right, our departure matches what we have on the FMGC. Stop altitude is 5,000 feet, and that's wrong. It should be 4,000 feet. Okay, before takeoff checklist to the line. Flight controls have been checked. Departure briefing confirmed. Flap setting config 1. FMA takeoff data. Oh, can we get back on that taxi line, please? 133 blue, 138 magenta. Climb blue, 4000 blue, 1FD2, and it's a toga takeoff. ECAM memo takeoff no blue. Electronic flight bag is stowed. Ben says V1. William, from what you've heard, it's 10 to 20. Nick says 29. Danny says 20. Oscar says 15 to 30. Brian Dyer says 30. Barry Microsoft Flight Sim ATC says 15 knots. Oh, David, you've just ruined the fun. That is, of course, correct. 30 knots. So well done, Brian Dyer. 30 knots is correct. That's only in a straight line, though, not through the turns. You don't want to go power sliding around the corners. So it's a nice long taxiway. This at the moment we're doing 20 knots. Kev, is there a way to brighten the displays further? No, sadly not. Where's my taxi line gone? I can almost see taxi lights here, but I can't see taxi lines. Maybe they just forgot to paint them. I don't know what that aircraft is there, but I'm betting it's a missing texture. It's not a Wizz Air, as it's looking brightly pink. Imagine going 30 knots around a corner. I bet you'd only be allowed to do it the one time. Well, Danny, this is about 30 knots now. In fact, we've just crept slightly over. This was 32. So, as you can see, on a nice long straight run, it's not too bad. It doesn't look overly too fast, does it? And if we have a look there, that would be what the passengers would obviously see. I mean, you tweak the CFG, but when you started the sim, it asked you to update to the full reinstall. I've definitely not had that. Is that on Steam or from the Microsoft Store?
Roundabout traffic to the 464, lining up 075.
So you may have seen that look like a rather abrupt stop. That was because I was trying to brake. I realised I was panning. my camera around, so my side stick input wasn't working. It's such a pain. They need to fix that, along with that about a billion other things. So we're holding out mic 2. Alpine 4503 holding short at mic 2 for runway 07 at Brandenburg. William, there is a tutorial already for setting up the custom camera views, or if you're on our Discord, you can actually download them and install them yourself. It takes 30 seconds. There's a video on the channel if you want to search for that. You just do a search for Easyjetsimpilot camera views, and that should work for you. Okay, let's check those brake temperatures. They're well within limits. So I'm going to wait for Nick to depart in the British Airways. I've not heard any other ATC, but any other traffic on frequency. Christian, he was pink a few moments ago. Again, I've not seen that before. That's another sim update fight things. Brandenburg traffic Alpine 4503 lining up behind the departing British Airways on 07 right, lining up and waiting behind. Okay, so as we get ready to line up and wait, let's get all our lights turned on, and we're going to get the transponder set. We're going to get TCAS TARA. That was already on, thanks to the broken aircraft right at the very start. Let's roll forward before takeoff checklist, then below the line. Actually, before we do that, we need to get the packs turned off. So there's the British Airways. I'm just going to start that timer. So pack 1, pack 2, now both off. By the time we've lined up that British Airways, which is Nick, should be quite far out in front, so we'll not have to wait for too long. Anyway, let's do the before takeoff checks below the line. So cabin is secured for takeoff, engine mode select norm, TCAS TARA, packs are off, anti-ice not required. Christian, this is live weather, yes. Okay, so we'll just hold our position there, we'll give it another 30 seconds, let the British Airways disappear. These screens look very washed out, don't they? I think that's something as well that's happened since the update, isn't it? Damien, which screw do people use to line the runway up with the middle of the aircraft? I've seen that question asked a lot. I don't really use a screw as such, I just use the overall outside picture. Right, there we go, 2 minutes. Brandenburg traffic Alpine 4503, departing runway 07 right on the RSAP 1 Zulu departure. Okay, so takeoff. Start the chrono. 50% N1.
After departing, about the A320, line up runway 07 right, straight behind.
And engine stable, set takeoff thrust. Mantoga, SIS runway. V1, rotate. Runway track. Gear up with the positive rate of climb. And heading. Autopilot 1 engaged. Thrust climb, open climb. Pack 1 back on. And we now maintain this track until 10.7 miles from the Brandenburg VOR showing down there. WC, I'll answer that question in a couple of minutes unless somebody else beats me to that. Spoilers, sorry, S-speed, so flaps retracted, flaps 0 and spoilers disarmed. Speed Alt Star. And we're accelerating away quite nicely now. No ATC online, so we can continue our climb. So let's set a higher flight level. Let's set flight level 250 for now. Thrust climb, open climb 250. Full standard pressure 250 blue. And now let's turn on pack 2 so we don't forget that. Those clouds are looking rather nice. Need to keep an eye on this temperature because of course if this starts to play silly beggars then we're going to have to go to a weather preset. Doesn't look like it's working either because it shouldn't be minus 19 and it's climbing as well, which is not correct. So in order to make sure we don't burn far too much fuel, I'm going to turn off live weather. I am going to use this preset and let's go with broken clouds, which is pretty similar to what we had. Okay, while faffing around with that, we did go about a mile and a half too far, but let's go back into nav. And now we're climbing out back on track. Aircraft just there. Is that Nick? 7,000 feet above us. He's on a different departure routing compared to me. We're coming up on 10,000 feet. I need to release the cabin crew. And we can get the lights off as well. "10,000 feet. Airport on the EFIS. Check the prog page. Can we get up to our cruise altitude of 390? Yes, we can. So let's continue that climb. Flight level 390 set. 390 blue. Up we go. And seatbelt signs off as well. We're now getting a much more realistic fuel burn of around 2.5 tons per hour. FN1 crew, good afternoon. Is my VSync still set to on in NVIDIA control panel? Yes it is, but not in the simulator. That's looking rather nice down there as well. So a lovely approach into Tivat at the end of all of this. So we'll keep checking en route weathers, and I'll just keep adjusting the weather to fit, really. What I will have when we come to land in Tivat is I will have live weather back on, so we should have live weather working nice there. So now we're more or less just watching that everything's working correctly as it should. I can come back into the chat, as those regular viewers of the channel will know I don't get a chance to pay too much attention to the chat room whilst we're taxiing out and on departure, etc. There's lots to do. Oh, I didn't put the we didn't start the timer running from pushback. That's strange. Mind you, you can find out what time you push back on the McDo, so that's not the end of the world. Stainless, thank you so much for the sub. Lawrence DK, good afternoon. Does anyone know how to update a Flight Tamper mod if you've downloaded it from the Flight Tamper Universal Installer? I'm afraid I don't. I haven't got any of their scenery. So I can't help you there, sadly. That's the first time I've seen an en route wind, if you like, when using default one of the default pre-settings. It's normally the wind is about 4 or 5 knots, basically negligible, but we've got 12 there, and it's a nice tailwind as well, so that's quite useful. Rockstar Energy on Twitch, good afternoon. $20,000 feet. And a nice right-hand turn coming up, so for those of you sat on the right-hand side of the aircraft. Oh yeah, that looks nice. So we did a stream which was a nighttime stream, obviously yesterday evening if you were here with us when we landed in Berlin. We obviously have just departed Berlin now. And it was great. We've got air traffic control bringing us in on VATSIM, nice and busy. Had to slot us in behind a couple of other aircraft, so that was really nice. And then we pulled off onto the taxiway and were told to follow an aircraft, and I couldn't see the aircraft at all because it had no lights on, no logo lights or anything. It was just a black hole. Anyway, after a few seconds I managed to struggle and find that. Ethan 555, am I using live weather? No, I was to begin with when we departed, but then now we're climbing. Live weather's still broken, so we're having to use a preset, which is pretty similar, I think, to what we had down in Berlin. And it looks pretty. We'll have live weather coming on in Tivat. I want those gusts. Let's make it really difficult. So I think Dark Fury and Nick are both flying alongside me as well. Hats off to them for for undertaking the Tivat challenge. William, you love the No Man sticker on the engines. Well, I think someone's asked me about this before. Obviously, well, you'd like to think that's pretty self-explanatory. No men in front of the engines. But then a few have asked, why would you put no step on here, and why would you put no grab on there? Surely the engineers and things would know that this isn't a step and not to be grabbed by. They would be trained on it. Yes, they would. But if we had an emergency landing and passengers had to use the emergency exit doors over the wing, then the passengers don't know that this can't be used as a step and that you're not to grab onto this and could cause injury. So it's there for the passengers' benefit, not the airline employees. Wayne, you once set a crazy wind at ground level and took your parking brake off. Your plane sat there like it was nailed to the apron. Have you tried? Has anybody tried this? So, get your Cessna or your Icon A5, something that's very, very light, basically. Set a wind speed as high as you can in the exact opposite direction to the way you're facing, so a true headwind. I'd be interested to know if the aircraft took off, because that does happen in real life. You've seen them having to tie Cessnas down and things, otherwise they just take off, stationary but take off. Nick, you've got the Orbx scenery as well, but you've not tried it yet. Oh well, now's the time. Dark Fury, if you can conquer Funchal, you can do this. It's a bit like Funchal, but with a lot more wind. Well, I think that actually all depends. You've probably got a lot more chance of sort of wind shear. It's surrounded by valleys, and at the moment, I think you're in luck. We won't be making the circle to land. I think it's going to be well, it's not a straight-in approach, but it's the easier of the two. Gary, good afternoon. You're doing London to Addis Ababa. Wow, how long is that? Is that about 9-10 hours? Nice lengthy flight. So obviously the climb rate is quite decent as we're not on live weather. FX414, good afternoon. Hope you're well. David asks, which is my favourite add-on airport in Europe? Well, to be fair, Berlin, where we've just departed, Aerosoft's Berlin, is very, very nice. As is, I quite like Palma as well, in Mallorca. That's really neat. And is it Berlin, where we've just left, that's got the McDonald's as well? Any airport that's got a McDonald's has got to be up there on the list, hasn't it? Matthias, which stream video did I show the graphics settings at the end? Well, funnily enough now, Matthias, what I have done is, since increasing the LOD, so I've got basically got my graphics back after Sim Update 5, I've gone back to my previous settings just with higher, I think I put buildings, trees and grass up onto higher. Everything else has remained the same, and I think I just increased the render scaling to about 120. Other than that, everything is exactly the same as it was in the main graphics update video that I did some time ago. Lawrence DK, you flew an X-Cub in live weather yesterday in Nice. It took off like a helicopter. The only problem with the weather presets is that I don't want the same weather over and over and over again just for the next 600 miles. You want to see that different. You want to see the fronts coming in and out. As nice as that looks rather pretty, doesn't it? So how are we doing with the climb? What are we at? We're at flight level 310. Well, just past flight level 310. That's okay. Per 360, don't try printing Metaf on the do instant crash to desktop. See, I've not had that. I've printed it quite often. So, again, everyone's having a different experience, aren't they? It's so strange. So very strange. Once we get to the top of climb, we'll do our top of climb checks. We'll get some en route weathers, etc., etc. And then we're going to brief this arrival nice and early. I mean, this is a 2-hour flight, so we've still got an hour 45 minutes to go till we're touching down, but we need to be so prepared for this arrival because there's lots of things. Flight 123, you've just departed Frankfurt and heading for Amsterdam. That's a nice flight. That's about, what's that? That's about an hour, isn't it? Something like that. Quaffle, you don't think you've had a crash to desktop since the time when you were using live traffic? You've been very, very lucky. But there is the sort of view that I could enjoy all day long. Nick ISA is +4 at flight level 360. God bless Rex. Keenan, you're having a problem with your autopilot. It's not working after takeoff, and it won't let you bring the throttle from 100% to 50%. Are we talking about the A320? Because with your thrust levers in the Airbus A320, don't talk of it as percentage. You've just got the detents. You've obviously got toga, which is the top. You've then got flex, which is the notch below it, and then you've got the climb thrust. Anders, so at the moment I am at LOD 4 for the terrain. LOD 4 for the terrain. And then I think I've got objects at something like 2. And that's enough for the objects. I didn't see that much degradation in the objects. Plus, they were a real frame rate killer, particularly if you're down on the ground. Captain B, I've seen a few people saying this. The lot doesn't change when you reload the game. It defaults back to 2. That's not happened for me, and I don't know why. Basically, once you've changed it, when you've actually changed the config file, don't then go into your settings in the simulator and touch those. So with so much time on this flight, and me here for the duration, we might have a little quiz, some quiz questions. Past the time of day. Captain B, you're also getting massive pop-ups in JFK. Yeah, I can understand that though, there's a lot of detail in JFK, isn't there? Easyjetsimpilot, I've seen a few people also make that suggestion, change the config file to read only. Remember, that is semi-dangerous because then if you get an update, If the simulator can't edit that file, then you may be told you need to download the whole thing again because it thinks it's corrupted. So just be aware of that. Captain B, the CTDs are completely random. I don't think anybody has managed to say this is the cause of it. That's what's going wrong. Everybody is just... We're all just flapping in the dark, really, aren't we? Including Gazobo. So guys, if you've enjoyed the departure so far, all has gone nicely to plan, please do give us a like, maybe hit the subscribe button, and don't forget to turn on the notifications bell so you don't miss any future live streams as well. Would really appreciate the like button being hit. Makes a big difference to the YouTube algorithms. Lourdes, I have not tried the stable version, no. Not yet, anyway. It's always a few degrees of technology behind the developer version. Keenan, no, you don't need the flypad for the autopilot to work correctly. Dark Fury, capping your frame rates in the NVIDIA control panel seems to help as well. Yes, well, I've done that. Didn't help me yesterday with 2 CTDs in 5 minutes at the ground in Milan, did it? But I get your point. Mine are capped to 35. We're about to come up to cruising altitude now of flight level 390. Just as we get there then, let me do a poll. I want you guys to tell me, just type in two numbers. I want you to tell me what do you think is the is your expected frame rates to be able to play this game correctly. Game, shouldn't have said that. Simulator. Go on, I want to know what FPS do you want to be able to play this simulator. I'm very very curious to know. So I'm just going to look for these FMA changes. There's Mac, there's Alt Star. And in a moment we should get Alt Cruise. There we go. Alt Cruise. Okay, so we've got some suggestions coming in now of around 30, 35, 40, 45. 28. That's random flights in 1, 2, 3. 28. So between 30 and 35 seems to be a general consensus. Yeah. And it's all personal preference. It depends what you want. Do you want a massive... I mean... As I'm zooming around here, obviously I'm away from the ground, so the load on the graphics isn't quite so much. But as you can see, I can zip between all the different viewpoints. It looks really nice. There's nothing really too much to concern myself with. And it's very nice and smooth. But as I said earlier, I've just capped mine at 35. And I think 35 for a simulator is absolutely fine. But I can tell the difference if I dial all my settings back and I'm running then at around 50-60. You can tell another level of smoothness, but I'd rather have a bit more graphic scenery. What's the difference between Alt and Alt Cruise Interactive Studio? Great question. So, if you've got Alt displayed, the aircraft will hold flight level 390 exactly. It will not move an inch. If it is at Alt Cruise, it will hold flight level 390 within 50 feet either side, and the idea behind that is it just gives the passengers a much more comfortable ride along the waves of the air. so to speak. Scott, how do you count FPS? I don't do it in the simulator, I do it in the NVIDIA control panel. So, fuel used is coming up to about 2 tons. And just cycling through the ecam pages there. Landing elevation -4. What's the elevation at Tivat? 20 feet. Well, -4, fair enough. Pressure differential is at 8, bang on. 8,399 feet, the cabin altitude, that's okay, maybe a tad high, but nothing to write home about. Electronics page is good. Hydraulics 3,000 psi on all of those. There's confirmation we use 1.8 tons of fuel. Fuel on board is 6.3 tons, which, yeah, that adds up. No fuel leak. APU obviously off. Cabin temperature is 21. Always a little bit cooler for them in the back. Captain's oxygen and doors closed and armed. Wheel temperatures nice. All computers running. System status is normal. Thomas, sadly live weather no is not working, which is a shame. Colan, another great question. How do you track an NDB needle on the McDo? Okay, so you don't track it on the McDo, but obviously you track it on the navigation display. You input it on the McDo. Let me just do a fuel check in a second, and then I'll go through that with you. So, what did we load? We loaded 8.2 tons, didn't we? So that was a ton extra. So we've got about a ton extra on there. That's fine. So we should have at, where's our next waypoint? Peacock. Oh, too far. Peacock, about 5 tons, so we should have about 5.8, 5.9 tons. Oh, there we go. Perfect. That's okay. Shireen, can I explain the use of the buttons below the knobs of the flight control system? I'm going to need a bit more information on that. Which buttons? The flight control system as well. I'm not quite sure what you're referring to there with regards to the flight control system. But in terms of tracking an NDB, we're going to have to do that on our approach into Tivat. James, yeah, I do have live weather turned off for now at the moment. So all you would do to track an NDB is you come to the RadNav page and you put your NDB frequency in this one here, the automatic direction finder. So where are we? We're now just past Peacock. Let's see if we can find an NDB on the chart. So there's Peacock. Can anyone spy an NDB? They're not always easy to spot. Oh, there, okay. So there's a couple of NDBs here. Let's try this one, 534. And they don't have a massive range either, so they're not the greatest of navigation aids. 534. Let's see if we can pick that one up. So if we pop that one in. and then flick the ADF on. No, it's not showing it. Too far away, sadly. But essentially, you'd turn it on, and then you'd get an arrow, a green arrow. But you'll see as we come into Tivat, because we're going to need an NDB for this approach. Outlaws, do I think that there are more pros than cons in Sim Update? Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely. Zitron, for some reason you've got problems with your thrust, it's messed up when you move it on the jumps from idle to climb, etc. Right, okay, you need to set your detents on the flypad. So go to the calibrate, move your thrust levers to where you want it to be. For idle, save and apply. Where you want it to be for climb, save and apply. Flex, save and apply. Toga, save and apply. And just follow that process through. L, can I explain why the autopilot sends the plane around a random circle before picking up the flight path after a full 360? No, I can't. Yeah, the simulator's book. Oh, look, there you go. We've just picked up that NDB. There you are. So, if I wanted to track that NDB and fly there, then I'd just turn the aircraft to follow that heading, that track heading. Now remember, NDVs don't give distance, so there's no distance to them. The only way you know you're over the top of one of them is when the arrow spins round behind you the other way. Colin, you've just had an NDB on the ground and got crashed the desktop. Oh god. There's just no rules, is there? There are no rules. There's just so much wrong with the simulator at the moment. It's awful. It's not awful, it's amazing, but it's frustrating, isn't it? When we consider what it was like. When we consider what it was like. How was everyone doing prior to the update? What were the... tell me, what were the crash to desktop rates, if you like, at that point? Tell me how you were getting on with your crash to desktops at that point. Oh, Nick, you've been looking ahead. It is offset by 20 degrees. It's not a straightforward approach, I did tell you.
Ladies and gentlemen, from the flight deck, we're delighted to hear that we're now at our cruising altitude, and we hope to give you nice views throughout the flight as we have good weather ahead and shouldn't be experiencing any turbulence. Of course, this means that you will not smoke any of your drinks that you may have from the cabin crew as they may start making their way around the aircraft. Could you please ensure that the aisles are kept clear so the cabin crew can offer you their cabin service, which will begin shortly. A reminder that Easyjetsimpilot channel members are able to access free drinks throughout the duration of the flight. Thank you, and I invite you to sit back, relax, and enjoy the remainder of the flight.
In just a few moments, we'll commence our in-flight service, offering you the chance to purchase a selection of hot beverages, together with drinks and snacks from the bar. We accept payment in pounds, euros, most major currencies, and debit or credit cards. The correct change would be greatly appreciated, and if we could be of any further assistance, then just ask us as we join you in the cabin shortly.
Quaffle, you've had no CTDs somehow. Do you know how many people are cursing you right now? call sign sandwich 101? Does any airline have that call sign? That's the call sign of most captains, I think. Dark Fury 200 by TAS. If you're at 200, you're going to be in the ground. I'm glad you corrected yourself. Okay, en route weathers. Let's have a look. Has my Navigraph chart work? Not Navigraph. Oh yeah, the tablet's working in nicely now. For some reason, when we load it in, the screen here wasn't working. So where should we look? Where should we take a look for? Let's see. So this is where, in the real aircraft, you'd just be able to look at your navigation display and pick your airports, but sadly it throws every single airport that's around, which we don't want. So we can have a look at Vienna. We're going to be crossing Vienna, well, going a beam Vienna soon, which is LOWW. Lima Yankee Tango Victor is our arrival airport. Lima Yankee Tango Victor. I'm going to pop that right at the end. In fact, no, do you know what? I'm going to pop that at the top. Where else should we have a look for? We can have a look at Budapest as well. Lima Hotel Bravo Papa. And we can also have a look at Zagreb, which is Lima Delta Zulu Alpha. So we'll send those off, see what happens. Air Trooper 37, you think is over? No, there's something quite wrong, which is why they're keeping quiet. It would be nice if they came out and basically admitted something's not right. I think there's far too many people having problems than not having problems. In fact, that's another good poll. So everyone in the chat, can you just type Y or N? Y for yes, N for no. If you are having or have had problems and the simulator is far more unstable now and you're having crashed the desktops after Sim Update 5, type in Y. If not, and you've got a completely error-free simulator, type in N. I just want to compare the yeses to the nos. So yes, you've got a problem, or N, no you haven't. Would love to see how people go with that. Whilst you guys do that for me, I'm going to check these messages. Wind's still nice and variable at Tivat, so good, that's the straightforward approach. Ellie Birch said no, Quaffle said no, Rico87 has said no. Antonio, yes. I've got 3 no's so far out of all of that. 3 no's. Quaffle, do I think sim market stuff is overpriced? It's only worth what you're willing to pay for it, my friend. Thomas, that's strange. Before yes, but now no. Wow. Oh, L. Birch, no, but you're also on a console. Oh, no, that doesn't count. I should have put that caveat in. I should hope there are no issues on a console. Harvest Moon, yes to the power of 10. Sharon, you meant about the flight director systems, so asking about the lock and approach and expedite buttons. Okay, we'll come to that in a moment then. I'm just checking these weathers, so a few clouds at 5,000 feet in Vienna. Weather is great in Tivat, thank God for that. Budapest, scatter clouds again about 5,000 feet. No significant changes. Okay, all's looking good. So what I'm going to do then, just to try and reflect that, is I'm going to go with scattered clouds. I'm going to delete that cloud layer. I'm going to delete... Oh! Yeah, I'll delete that cloud layer. We'll delete that cloud layer. And here we're going to scatter those clouds about 5,000 feet, wasn't it? That'll do. Bit more realistic to what the weather situation's doing now. Nick, your new install seems to have helped. So Nick, you've had to do a fresh install, haven't you? So for anyone that's wanted a quick understanding of the buttons on the FCU, the flight control unit, so the flight directors basically control these green bars. They are flight directors showing you where the aircraft should be going based upon the information you have provided it with, and that's a big caveat. If you haven't programmed the McDo correctly, then this could be giving you daft information. LS is the landing system. Turn that on as we're getting closer, and it will give you populate the ILS and localizer and the glide slope, and if it's got a DME, it'll also give you the distance to the ILS as well. The localizer button, you turn that on for the aircraft autopilot to capture the localizer. We shall be using that on the approach a little bit later on as well. Autopilot 1 and Autopilot 2 both do exactly the same thing. If the captain is the pilot flying at the left hand seat, Autopilot 1 will be used. If the co-pilot, or first officer rather, is flying from the right hand seat, he will use Autopilot 2. Expedite gets you up and down quicker than normal normal modes would do. We don't really touch that button. And the approach basically arms not just the localizer but also the glide slope for the autopilot to capture that as well. Sus indeed is the McDo, the multi-control... do you know what? I forgot what it stands for. Multifunctional Control Display Unit. That's the one. Beautiful. I see people all the time sometimes comment and say, why do you call it a McDo? Stop calling it a McDo. I'm sorry. Every Airbus pilot I've ever spoke to refers to it as that. Flight Hill, you've had no problems the whole time. We hate you. Only joking, my friend. Thanks for stopping by. The simulator down below at 39,000 feet does look like it should do now, doesn't it? Or rather, does look like what we were used to prior to sim update number 5. So glad about that. Okay, quiz time. Let me head back in. Alright, so you may need to rewind the stream for this, but on departure we had Mantoga, SRS and runway. Yeah. We would then normally have climb shown just here in the altitude section of the FMA. So it was in climb, which means it was in managed climb mode, which is normal. However, when I pulled the heading bug so that we went out of nav and went into climb mode, and went out of nav and into heading mode, Why did it switch from climb in managed mode to open climb? Quiz question number 1. Rico87, thank you so much for your kind donation. Rico says, because I like the channel, woohoo. Rico, thank you so much. You're very, very kind, Rico87. And I hope you have no CTDs now or forevermore. Call sign sandwich 104. How do I get the outside and wing views? They're custom views that I've set, which you can download. They're free to download. They are available on our Discord server in the pilot's briefing room, and there's a video on the channel explaining how you can go ahead and install those. It takes 30 seconds. Wayne at Zobo's FMGC is called a McDon't. Nice one. The chat's gone quiet. Is that because everyone's rewound the stream now to check what happened with the FMAs right at the start? So why did it go from managed mode climb to open climb when I pulled the heading bug? Matt Wenberg, how do we turn off the annoying mouse over the explanations on every button since the last update? I can't remember what the menu is, but if you check on the channel, there's a video about Sim Update 5 and what was new, what was broken, how to fix it, and that fix is included in that video. Brian, so that's a good answer. In heading mode, height constraints don't apply. So there's no managed climb. I'm not telling you if you're right or wrong just yet. SGS, because the aircraft went into open climb mode. That's correct, but why did the aircraft go into open climb mode when I switched from nav to heading mode? That's the question. LG Lambs, good afternoon. I like this music, this little piano interlude we've got going in the background. Sounds like the backing track to The Truman Show. Sadly, live weather is still broken, yes. My apologies, I can't pronounce your name. Piano learner. So I've set the ground textures look back to what you used to prior to Sim Update 5. What do I do to get them back? The easiest way to explain that is check out the video on the channel, released a couple of days ago. It just says how to get your graphics looking better, how to get your graphics back after Sim Update number 5, and that'll go through that for you. LG Lambs, because it's not following a VNAV path and it's just targeting an altitude. Brian Dyer says, do you think it has to do with VNAV and constraints? You need LNAV, managed heading active, not on heading. SUS, when in heading mode, the altitude constraints won't apply, and you have to control the altitude manually. Dark Fury, if nav is armed, the autopilot engages automatically at 30 feet RA. However, this will reduce to maintain speed. Pardon? If nav is armed, the autopilot engages automatically at 30 feet However, this will reduce to maintain speed. The autopilot will never engage automatically. So there's a lot of good answers there. Some are pretty close, actually. And when it says managed climb will hold an altitude without changing pitch, selected climb will alter the pitch. Just having a look, see if we've got any air traffic control coming up. So, Adria radar is on. I don't know if we're going to enter that airspace though. So I'll give you the answer to that little question in a minute or so. Whilst you're waiting for the answers, please do consider hitting the like button, maybe subscribe and turn on the notifications bell as well so you don't miss future streams. We're nearly halfway through the flight now. Dark, if nav is armed, open descent engages automatically. There's no constraints to be followed. And yeah, Dark, I think you're getting yourself in a bit of a twist there, mate. Nick, it sounds like you're in a posh restaurant with that harp. I know you're in the hospitality trade, Nick. How many harpists do you have employed at your place?
In just a few moments, we'll commence our in-flight service, offering you the chance to purchase from our selection of fresh food available today. Full details can be found in your in-flight brochure. We accept payment in pounds, euros, most major currencies, and debit or credit cards. The correct change would be greatly appreciated, and if we can be of any further assistance, then just ask us as we join you in the cabin shortly.
Says just for example, after a takeoff, ATC may give a direct vector to a point on the departure and an altitude climb. So when heading is enabled, the aircraft will go to open descent. I hope not after takeoff. And the pilot will have to control speed, altitude, and VS. Art Pepper, hello. You flying to Phoenix today? First time in your aircraft in a few years. Wow. Rico87, I don't change it to read-only, no, I've left it as it is. I literally just changed the information in it, hit save, and then fired up the sim. Don't touch your graphics settings after that, though. Okay, let me guys give you the answer. And to be fair, many of you are pretty much there. When you're in nav mode, okay, the aircraft's onboard computers is following all the information that it's got in here, and it knows the best rate of climb for any targets that it is trying to meet, and it's based upon the cost index as well for its rate of climb. And as some of you have said as well, the constraints are all respected too. There's not usually too many constraints on departures. Depends where you're departing from, of course. But basically, the aircraft is following the information you have provided it with in the simulator, because it is following the navigation. Now, another important bit that I missed out, not only is it following the navigation, the aircraft knows where it's going in order to follow the navigation and climb at the correct rate that it sees fit as being the best for top of climb. Now remember, we don't have it showing yet, but normally you get a top of climb on the navigation display and on the flight plan page. Now sadly they're not there at the moment, however they would be in the real aircraft. If you suddenly are, so if you're in nav and you're in climb, everything is being done automatically. The moment you pull the heading bug and you go into heading mode, the aircraft now has no idea where it's going. It has nothing to target. So as you said, constraints won't be respected. We can blast straight through constraints because it doesn't know that it's even going in that direction anymore. It has no idea which waypoint it is heading to next, and without that information it doesn't know what the best rate of climb is for your location and your next target. So that's why it goes into open climb, and it will remain climbing at whatever it was at when you pull at the rate of climb whenever you pull the heading bug. So that's essentially why it changes modes, and the simple answer is because the aircraft doesn't know where it's going anymore. You've told it it's going somewhere completely different to where it expected to go. So hope that answered that burning question. Willie, good afternoon. You've got 15 minutes. I need to do something interesting. You need to join us for landing for that. Landing is going to be interesting. We'll be on the ground in an hour. Hopefully the right way up and on a runway. Brian, I was close in about... Yeah, like I said, many of you were pretty much there. The simple answer is because the aircraft has no idea where it's going anymore. So how can it manage the climb if it doesn't even know where it's going? Okay, those of you that are good on geography, where's this? This looks rather nice. Turbo trucks, sadly liveries or a lot of liveries are very much broken at the moment, so you're best just making sure you've only got one in there that you know works. Converted liveries on the FlyByWire installer don't seem to work either at the moment, I'm afraid. Willie, is the dev version all patched for Sim Update 5? Yeah, that's where I'm flying right now. Ahmed, good afternoon. How many CTDs have I had today? I can't answer that because I might jinx it, which probably gives you my answer. Wayne, you were totally wrong, but you like to be consistent. Good job. Gary, you're back from lunch. It's great to see you. Piano, I agree. There's lots of people that are complaining perhaps a little bit too much. But on the other side of that, I can understand why they're complaining when they had something that worked perfectly before an update, which just happened to coincide with the Xbox release. I'm a huge fan of the phrase, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Darren, is it crew? How you doing, Darren? Good to see you. Turbo Trucks, what's with the autopilot doesn't work well with live weather? That is because, well, let's do a quick check. We've not done the live weather check for a while now. Okay, so at the moment the temperature is minus 30 degrees or minus 56 static air temperature, which is fine. You'd expect that about flight level 390. So it's cold. The air is quite dense. I'm going to turn live weather on. If it suddenly jumps up to a high temperature, the air is less dense. There's not much air up here if it's that hot. The engines are starved of air. They have to work harder, so your aircraft can no longer hold its altitude. Let's see what happens, shall we? There we go. Plus 80. Go away. Can you actually delete cloud layers? I'm trying to delete that cloud layer. It doesn't seem to want to... maybe you can't delete them. I was just trying to mimic the metars that I've been reading. That's close enough. Looked like Lake Balaton if flying over Hungary. That's probably what it is. I'm not going to pretend to know. And yeah, so thank you to Louis and Sajtoskifli. I'm so sorry, that was an awful pronunciation, but that's the best I can do, I'm afraid. HK Flight Simulations, I'm very well. Thanks for stopping by. But the weather issues related to Microsoft Flight Simulator, not Fly-by-Wire. Right, we're going to start briefing this approach. In fact, bear with me just a couple of seconds. I'm just going to grab a quick drink, and then I'm going to brief the approach. Back with you in a second. Okay guys, back with you. Now we're ready to brief this approach. So we are going to be landing on runway 32. Runway 32 has no ILS, but it does have a localizer. So we do have some lateral guidance. However, it is an offset localizer. Offset by 20 degrees. So we have quite a late last minute turn to gently line up with our runway, and we've got lots of terrain to the right of us and to the left of us as well as we're coming in. So lots to be aware of. Now, how are we actually going to get down and in the right place to begin this approach? So we are going to be doing the Hod 3 Bravo. Oh, that's bad timing. Okay, let me just contact ATC, then we'll continue. Adria Radar, good afternoon. Alpine 4503, flight level 390.
Alpine 4503 on your radar over down. Squawk 5210.
5210, Alpine 4503.
Alpine 4503, identified flight level 390, continue as filed, expect shortcut in 5 minutes.
Continuous file, then we expect shortcut in 5 minutes. Alpine 4503.
Easyjet 377, nothing further, monitoring command to destination, right?
Okay, so I've just sent a weather request off as well. Anyway, let's continue. So we're going to be doing the Pod 3 Bravo. And we want to be down, not too quickly, but basically, by the time we get to Olivu, we want to be heading down to about 5,000 feet. Now, because we want to do this nice and slowly, we don't want to be having any rushed approaches of this, so we need to slow down. Obviously, normal speed restrictions apply, 10,000 feet below 250 knots. But if we can be at around 9,000 feet by the pod, I'm going to refer to it as the pod. If we're going to be about 9,000 feet by pod, after that we're going to continue down to 5,000 feet at Olivu. From Olivu we then want to get down to 4,000 feet to Gossett, and then from Gossett we can then descend down to 2,600 feet. We want 2,600 feet by the time we get to the Tivat NDB, so we're going to pop that in a second. By the time we get to the Tivat NDB, we'll be able to capture the localizer. Remember, there's no glide slope, so it's just localizer. And that's this frequency here, 111.3. The localizer will take us through to here, and then it's a visual approach into Tivat. This is actually the easier of the approaches. If we were coming in the other way, then there's a lot more to worry about. Now, of course, things to be aware of is the terrain. We've already briefed that. So the start is the Pod 3. What did I say? It was the Pod 3 Bravo. Transition altitude is 10,000 feet. The platform altitude is 2,600 feet. And I should have said as well, once we get to the Tivat NDB, we're going to set a descent of 3.2 degrees. 3.2 degrees down, and then we will make sure that we are on a descent with these altitudes at 7 miles, 6 miles, 5 miles, 4 miles, cross-referencing these altitudes as we go down to make sure that's right. Minimum safe altitude then around the airport. As we're first coming in, it's going to be 7,400 feet. And then on our final approach, we've got 6,300 feet.
4503, direct net sea.
Direct to Medsea for Alpine 4503. That is a big shortcut.
Alpine 4550, Adria radar over down, identify continue.
So the first thing I want to do is I want to now go into the prog page, put in POG, because I want to be at about 9,000, between 8 and 9,000 feet by the time I get here. 404 miles away, so still plenty of time to go, but as I say, I wanted to brief this one nice and easily. Actually, how do I know the descent rate in degrees on the Airbus? We're going to use the track FPA button just there. looking rather beautiful. So let's just continue. Minimum safe altitude is, as I say, 6,300 feet as we're coming in. Now, the minimums for this approach, minimum descent altitude, is going to be with a climb gradient of 4%, no, 3%, 1280. We will set. Circle to land not allowed. Elevation is 20 feet. And the missed approach, we have to decide if we're going missed by 3 miles. So it's going to be a left turn, maximum of 185 knots. And we're climbing at 6,000 feet. Norman, good afternoon. Well, you got to run, no problem, mate. Speak to you soon. Funnily enough, I don't think I've got the correct waypoint in there. Direct Papa Oscar Delta, Alpine 4503. Yeah, I put the wrong one in. P-O-D, which is where we're now going direct to. 185 miles away, that's better. Actually, does the descent angle show on the primary flight display? No, it doesn't. Oh, actually, yes it does. Yes, it does. It comes up on the FMA. Sorry, yes, I was thinking it's up here, but yeah, it will show there as well. So we're at 39,000 feet, so I want to lose, we're about 90, call it 100 miles. About 100 miles away. I want to make that descent. And we're 179 now, so not too long.
Ryanair 5751, runway 31, clear for takeoff, wind 190 degrees 1. Takeoff runway 31, Ryanair 5751. Ryanair 5751, confirms walking 5200.
Ladies and gentlemen, take full advantage of your tax-free allowances today and make some amazing savings with our boutique range. In your in-flight brochure, you'll find details about an award-winning selection of gifts, most with massive discounts, some of which are exclusive to you as an Easyjet customer. Make the most of your opportunity to shop and save from the comfort of your seat. If you'd like to see any products, have any questions, or would like to make great savings, then just ask us as we join you in the cabin shortly.
Tomlin 14. No, I've not updated in the last 48 hours, so I've not got the new textures, but that's okay. And thank you to Michael for subscribing. Appreciate that. So a nice midweek stream in the afternoon. So there'll be no live stream tonight, but a nice midweek stream. JJ, hello again. Still having problems with the ILS, I see. It would be really great if you were on our Discord so we could help you. I know you said you've had a few problems. What we really need to know is what the FMAs are doing. Then we can try and help you out. But I think we would need pictures and images. Now, we should have got the weather. We're going to go and pop that in. Winds 280 at 5. Beautiful. That's good. If we did have to do a go around, we would do it at flap 1 as well, config 1. Oh, I was trying to work out where on earth was the text then. It has that magic disappearing and reappearing ink. 1013 is the QNH. Temperature 31. Wind 280 at 5. Transition altitude 10,000 feet. And that decision minimum descent height for this approach, because it's a non-precision approach, is 1280.
Runway 575, runway 31, clear for takeoff, wind 190 degrees, 12.
Danny, yeah, done the approach brief. We know what we're doing. We know what we should be doing. Fingers crossed.
Andrea, hello. We have 062, flight level 310.
Reserve 062, radar Doladam identified, proceed direct. Kogat.
And if I just go to the RadNav page now, we've got the Tivat localizer in there. And we want to put TAZ down here, which is the NDB, TAZ. There we go, we've got the NDB on. Let's flick that on as well so we can see that. We're far too far away to pick that up at the moment. So the main thing with this approach is ensuring nothing is rushed. It's one of those approaches that if you let the aircraft get ahead of you, then things could go wrong very quickly. Dr. Magic, hello! CTD free, fingers crossed so far. Kilo Sierra 541. Good to see you.
Identified plant flight level 200.
See you very soon.
Ladies and gentlemen, flight deck once again, you will be delighted to hear that we will shortly be starting our descent into our destination, at which point the cabin crew will start preparing.
Silver 464 for further descent, monitor uniform up to 2.8. Have a nice landing, bye-bye.
To make their way around the aircraft.
Once the yield comes up at descent, we're going to start actually taking on.
CG15, Oxford for you, also uniform up to 2.8. Happy landing, bye-bye.
Once you come on to 2.8, thanks very much. Goodbye.
So with no ATC, I'm wondering if any holds are going to be needed in place, as I know there are a few flying with us today. let me just have a look on the chart. Where would the holding point be? Not sure if I've got a hold shown on here. Oh, we can hold over a waypoint called Lasty. So if we did decide to hold, then from Olivu, which is where we're headed to, we would have to then go out to the waypoint Lasty, and then we'd come in and start a hold, depending on how the traffic is doing. I'm just looking. We've got aircraft behind us, minus 4,000 feet below us. Actually, what's the difference between the ADF and the VOR? So ADF is for non-directional beacons and VOR is obviously for VORs. And the ATC is not going to spread us out, I don't think. He's going to kick us onto Unicom in a moment. But we won't start heading down now, so I'm going to give him a call to see if we can do that.
To Bologna, we are runway 31, Sally 1, Tango departure initially 8,000, Scott 5211, Ryanair 7534.
7534 is that correct, and startup approved, QNH 101.
Startup approved, QNH 1012, Ryanair 7534.
Alpine 4503, request descent.
Alpine 4503, descent flight level 130.
Descent flight level 130, Alpine 4503. Thrust idle, open descent, 130 blue. So we should be on the ground in a little over half an hour. So now we need to start really nailing and monitoring that descent rate, because I don't want to be any higher than 9,000 feet by the time we get to pod. Actually, so the definition between the two, a VOR normally gives you a direction and distance, and you can tune into it and you can follow it, and NDB is just a needle on the display that says it's over there. But you've no idea how far away you are from it. They're old school navigation devices. Nowadays we use GPS, but in the days before GPS they just used to fly from beacon to beacon to beacon. Flight 123, yeah, should be landing in around half an hour.
Ryanair 5751, climb flight level 37.
370 Ryanair 5751.
So we're now 98 miles away from POG. So nicely on profile for the time being. QNH is 1013, so the standby is all set. We've got the weather and the landing information. FMGC is coded. Landing elevation is 20 feet. We've done an arrival briefing. I'm going to go auto brake to medium just because of the kind of approach it is. I would also put the terrain radar on as well, although I'm not sure that's working in this version of the dev build. I think they've now fixed that. Could really have done with that for this. Michael, I suggest importing it automatically, as is done in the real world. Get it uplinked from your uplinked from the company. Ashley, thank you so kindly for your donation there. Really appreciate that. Any other questions? Then hopefully the channel and myself can help you. As we get a little bit closer to this arrival, I will probably be paying a little less attention to the chat, however, just as we need to concentrate on that. Nick, good luck, you're going in. Enjoy. One of the other things I just want to check as we're coming into pod is the minimum off-route altitudes. Don't want to descend too low.
4503, so far the descent Unicom 2 bye-bye.
Over to Unicom, thanks for the service. Alpine 4503, bye-bye. So as we get to pod, minimum is going to be 10,000 feet actually, so we're going to start slowing down before that. That way we've got plenty of time to get from pod to Aluvu, and I'll just show you that chart again so you've got it fresh in your mind as I have mine. So from pod we want to get to Luvu. We've got plenty of time actually, we've got 20 miles, so we can lose 5,000 feet in 20 miles, that's no problem, as long as we're not at something like 270 knots. So let's set 10,000 feet, and we're going to use local pressure for that. So 10,000 blue. Just so happens that the local pressure is the same as standard pressure. So we can slow down our rate of descent a little bit actually, as we're below the profile. We're very much below the profile, to be fair. But that's still okay, because it means that it's going to be a lot easier for us to slow down, and we want to go nice and steady and slow for this approach. As I mentioned earlier, no rushing. We've now picked up the NDB, which is the Tivat NDB called TAS, and you can see that green arrow pointing towards it, which, as you would expect, lines up quite nicely. If I just change the range rings, it basically points towards the approach, just there. Danny, so on the FCU, the dot above the speed knob means that it's managed speed, so it's following a speed given calculated by the McDo. Let's show us on new. That's correct, yeah. If it's a dot, it's all been managed by the computer. The computer is working out the best rate of descent, the best speed, etc. And if there's a dot on the heading, then it's in nav mode, as we can see confirmed here on the FMA. If you've enjoyed the flight this afternoon so far, please do give the stream a like, and you can hit the subscribe button, turn on the notification bell for details of upcoming live streams and live videos so you don't miss those. Multi 75, you've just been watching a 737 landing at Tivat. Crazy stuff in windy conditions. It had to go around. Yeah, that's not surprising. That's why we loaded extra fuel. Go arounds here are not uncommon. And remember, there's no shame in going around. Never any shame in going around. What would you prefer your pilot to do? Go around or crash? I've gone around several times on the stream if the approach is unstable. So just increasing that rate of descent a little bit now, as I want to be 10,000 feet, perhaps just a fraction before pod, and then I can have 250 feet, 250 knots showing us the speed. Okay, TM, good afternoon, hope you're well. Okay, so with the seatbelt signs on nice and early, we'll now run the approach checklist. So minimums are set both sides. Engine mode selected to normal. Electronic flight bag is stowed. I'm just going to now look to see if we can pop on live weather without too much issue as we're getting lower down. ISA is still bugged, but we'll leave live weather on for now. Mark, you have to do it manually. The only automatic way, or the way you can cheat in Microsoft Flight Simulator, is to press the B button on your keyboard. Okay, we're doing the runway 32 localizer approach into Tivat. One thing with the broken live weather, slowing down to 250 knots is going to be a breeze. That's not going to cause an issue. Rico 87, you don't see me on the fly-by-wire map. That's a shame. I'm definitely here, as far as I'm aware. So much nicer and better, isn't it, flying it with the real world weather. Shame we can't do it for the full flight at the moment, but nevertheless. In retrospect, it's such a daft place to build an airport, this. Kevin on Facebook asks, is the next update for Flight Sim on Thursday, tomorrow? Oh, I doubt it, Kevin. I think they've got too much to sort out. Alt start, that's 10,000 feet. So we're now reducing speed to 250 knots. After passing pod, we're then going to descend down to 5,000 feet. I'm also now going to arm the approach phase. Before I do that, I'm going to go into heading mode because this is just a simulator bug. Activate the approach phase. Make sure we're still going direct to POG. Yeah, see, it's jumped to Gosport. Now it's back on track. Tivat traffic Alpine 4503 is 10 miles from Papa Oscar Delta, 10,000 feet. Lewis Aviation, good afternoon. Okay, so I now want to start slowing down. So we're going to go back into manage mode. Engines will roll back. We're going to target green dot. And as soon as we pass pod, we want to start heading down straight away to 5,000 feet. And as we briefed earlier, nice and steady. We don't want to be rushing, which is why we're slowing down to green dot nice and early. We've now turned on the landing system and we're 21 miles away from Tivat. So my apologies now if I'm not paying too much attention to the chat. There's a lot going to happen in the next few minutes. I'm going to obviously try and talk my way through what it is we're doing as we're doing it. So we're about to pass pod, and then from pod we're going to go down to 5,000 feet by Olivu. So there we go, there's the turn. Let's go now down to 5,000 feet. Thrust idle, open descent. And given our ground speed, I want to be going at around about, just checking that descent rate. Yeah, that descent rate's fine, that's good. That'll get us down to 5,000 feet. Nice. And in time. And of course, given the type of arrival we are doing, we're going to have to be configured nice and early. So we're going to get flaps 2 out, we're going to get the landing gear down nice and early. Norman, there is a problem with live weather. Basically everything's just too hot, so the engines are starved of air. Just going to increase that descent rate a little bit. I'd rather get down nice and soon, so then we can slow down. If we miss 5,000 feet at Olivu, then we may struggle a little bit, because between Olivu and Gosset we've only got well, we've got less than 5 miles. So thank you to the few of you that have just liked and followed on Twitch as well. I have got a replay of this recording, so we can either enjoy the views afterwards or laugh at the catastrophic crash. Danny, is it you, or are you flying into a mounting? Danny, you're hoping we have to do a go around. Well, it wouldn't be the first time, and there are winds and gusts here. We're on live weather, so it is possible. It is possible. MB944 on Twitch. I should do a flight to Faro. We've done Faro quite regularly. One of the favourites on the channel, Faro. Michael, if you... I think the terrain button is bugged at the minute since the update. There's 5,000 feet. After we pass Olivu, we're then going to go 4,000 feet to Gosset, and then down to 2,600 feet. So as we level off here, I'm going to get flaps 1 out. So there we go, we're now slowing down to green dot. And, oh, where are you going? That's not the right place. Flaps 1 and 4,000 feet. This is the last place you want the simulator to come up with a bug, isn't it? Can I go back to Olivu, please? That's hopefully got us back on track. Okay, no it hasn't. That's fine. I'll leave it in header mode till we get over Olivu. Going down to 4,000 feet. We've got flaps 1 out. And after Olivu, we're then going to go to Gosset and then descend. There we go, let's go back into nav mode to make that right hand turn. This should bring us nicely lined up to Gosset now at 4,000 feet. It's doing some sort of daft turn. It's going to get us right back on, and then it's going to make a left-hand turn. That's just the simulator being the simulator. And then after Gossett, we're now going down to 2,600 feet. So we can start that now. 2,600 feet. Thrust idle, open descent. Down we go. And we're essentially going to fly straight through this valley, and the runway is around there. Keep an eye on these winds. We're now lining up nicely with the NDB. And you can see the localizer is actually starting to come in, so we'll get the localizer on in a moment. So as I said, we want to be configured nice and early. So I'm going to pull the speed, and we're going to go flaps 2. I'll roll that back to 180 knots for now. Arm the localizer, lock start. Tivat traffic Alpine 4503 is 12 miles on the final approach for runway 32. Localizer captured. Speed Alt Star and lock. So now we're at 2,600 feet. Config 2. Going to get the landing gear down in a moment as well. So the descent angle is 3.2 degrees, which we're going to set in a couple of miles. $10 out. I'm going to start reducing speed now. So back to speed. Also, to help reduce speed, I can get the gear out. I said we're going to be configured nice and early. Landing gear down. Spoilers armed. We'll ding the cabin. We'll get all the lights on.
Flight attendants, please prepare for landing.
We're going to go track FPA. .2, we're going to set 0.2 miles from TAS. This normally jumps a little soon for me, so we have to sort of do a little guess here. Yeah, so just give that another couple of seconds. There we go. And all we're going to do now is compare, just very quickly, we've got the chart here showing the distance and the altitude we should be at. So I'm now going to cross-reference the two. There's radio altimeter is alive. There, we can now see the runway. 7 miles. 7 miles, we should have been 2,500 feet, so we're actually slightly below. So what I can do is I can just bring that up. At 6 miles, we should be 2,150. That's now spot on, so let's set that back now to 3.2. Let's finish configuring. Flaps 3. Set our go-around altitude of 6,000 feet. Flaps full. Landing checklist. Cabin secured for landing. Auto thrust speed. Go-around altitude 6,000 set. ECAM memo landing no blue. 4 miles should be at 1,470. And I don't know if you guys can see, it is rather bumpy. So even though the wind's only 7 knots, we're slightly below, but not too much that we're unstable.
Minimum 1,000.
1,000 feet. Actually, we changed it from 3.2 because we were slightly too low, so we just bring that back up. Autopilot off, I have control. Flight director 1 and 2 off. And now we just look out the window. We can just see the pappies as well. 2 white, 2 red. That's perfect. And now we need to make this final left-hand turn. 500 feet, approach stable. Make sure we use positive inputs on the side stick. Eyes on the pappies now. Instruments won't help us at all, really, now.
300.
And thank you very kindly for the donation I received a couple of months ago, obviously. A little busy at the minute.
200. 100. 50, 40, 30, 20, 10, 5.
And down we go. Reverses green. My spoilers didn't arm. Why didn't they arm? So I've just pulled those out manually. And brakes. Reverses off. 70 knots. Looks like my friends arrived safely anyway. We can see them. Get those lights off. And there we go. Welcome to Tivat. What a great airport to land at. Oh, I keep forgetting that I can no longer pan around and turn at the same time. Tivat traffic, runway 32 vacated.
Tivat traffic, start by 4550, 2 mile final runway 32.
A Pepto-Bismol livery there for a second. Yeah, again, something that's happened since World Update number 5. Now, parking into position here as well isn't that easy, thanks to the fact that we can no longer taxi whilst looking around, so I'm going to cheat and I'm going to come out of the flight deck in order to do this. Something you can't do in real life, of course. So let's get ourselves into position and then we shall let our good passengers offload. Oh, just a little bit short of the dot. Never mind. And parking brake set. Haven't started the APU yet, so I can't close the engines. Didn't do that. So a big thank you to OKTM, who says thank you for your useful tips in your video. You think you're making good progress with the graphics settings. Good news, Oki. Let us know how you're getting on with that. And to Ashley Jack, thank you very much for your kind donation as well there as we were coming in on final. So I've got the replay to check out, so let me just stop the replay. I'm going to have to come off VATSIM before we do that, so a big thank you to those that flew on VATSIM with us today, and we'll check out what the replay looked like. If I can just disconnect from VATSIM. There we go. I'm not sure I've used the replay mod since the sim update, so we'll have a look at how that works. I need to remove the parking brakes, otherwise all hell breaks loose when we touch down with... basically, you don't want to land with your parking brakes on. I'll let you work out why. I should come and land at Split. Yeah, that's another amazing approach, isn't it? Right, let me load this replay and we'll have a look what it looked like from a passenger viewpoint. So we just need to cancel some warnings and things. So I started the replay out kind of early. If we go from there, there we are, 2,500 feet. It's a good place to start. But what a beautiful approach it must also be for the passengers as well. Now, this is the easier of the two runways to land on. Had the wind been coming from the other direction, then it would have been something else. Would have been a lot more difficult. That one, relatively speaking, almost looked straightforward, didn't it? It obviously wasn't straightforward. It's not a normal ILS approach. Plenty of things to take into account. But the other one, coming in on the opposite runway, is a little bit more like Funchal, where you have to come in around and make a last-minute circled approach. But the difference is, if you get it wrong, there's lots of terrain and hillsides in the way as well. So we'll look at this approach from a couple of different angles by the time we've finished. Out of interest, what did the overlay decide that our landing rate was on that approach? Didn't look bad at all, actually. Happy with that. Drini, hello, you're so late. Oh, you can rewind. What we might do is we may take the drone camera out to the runway threshold for one of the replays and just have a look what it looks like coming in and weaving between the hillsides. Actually, you think the wing view is better than the cockpit? I tend to agree with you. I love the wing view. Kira, I'm afraid I don't know where my next flight will be. It will certainly not be tonight. This is my final one for today. I say final one, my only one. Norman, off for the coffee. Thanks for watching, my friend. Speak to you soon. Barry, welcome back. You missed the landing, but you get to see the replay. Loving the flickering reflection in the river as the air is distorted by the jet engine as well. We'll also have a look at the scenery around Tivat, provided by Orbx. We must thank them for providing the scenery for today's flight. So there you can just see the aircraft making that last, almost not a last minute bank. We don't want to be too aggressive with it, just to line up nicely. You could very easily overcorrect that. Oh, BBC, 292 for the landing. You're joking. Never. And touchdown. I must admit, the opposite approach is far more scenic and a lot more scary from a passenger's perspective. Because it does look like you're about to slam into a hillside. Okay, let's have a quick rewind and we'll jump over to the other wing view. We'll not go too far out, we'll just go to there. I mean, that looks great. Just that frozen picture there looks fantastic. Flight Hill, you're very, very welcome. Actually, I'm sure there is a way that you could do that. The problem would be that then your graphics card is having to work twice as hard and create everything twice. That's not good. It's already warm enough in my office. Dreamy have upgraded to 16GB RAM. That's how I first started playing this game, and it worked beautifully. See that scenery and even those clouds up there look great. The solution to that, Barry, will be 2 graphics cards. Yes, that's really nice to see. So just want to leave that running. I'm going to just go to the drone camera settings, and if I just turn that off, let the aircraft do its own thing. I want to just quickly speed up the drone speed, and we can have a quick look. So this is the whole area that Orbx scenery covers, and the harbour over here is vitally important if you're coming in on the opposite runway, because the harbour is one of your main viewpoints. You make your final turn here to come in and land. There you can see. So that the fact that they've done the harbour and done it really, really well is great to see. We'll have to come back here maybe when the wind's blowing in the opposite direction, and do a landing on the opposite runway, because that would be really, really nice to see. So let me position the drone camera as though we were slightly it could be an aircraft spotter at the perimeter fence, couldn't we? Let's have a look, and if I can just rewind that a little bit. And just edit these settings. There we go. That should do. And play that. We can see us coming in for the final landing. Nick, has the scenery got people walking inside it? I've seen a few sceneries doing that, and of course you'd trust Orbx to do something similar. Not quite sure why I'm landing with the spoilers deployed, but never mind. Ah, the drone cam couldn't keep up with it. Oh, I forget we've now got touchdown dust. Oh, I've got to see that again. Hang on. Let's have another go at that, shall we? I definitely want to see that again. I rarely look at landings from the outside view, so yeah, I want to see that touchdown dust now it's there. Oh, that's beautiful to see. Nicely done. It's dissipated now, though. Oh, that's fantastic. That's made my day. That's made the whole flight. That a little bit of rubber dust as we touch down. Nice stuff. And Nick, did you say there's people walking around inside the scenery? Let's have a quick look over there, shall we then? See what we can find. Does anyone else get the feeling when playing around too much with cameras and views and things that at any moment the simulator is just going to crash? So let's have a look. That's all our baggage handlers, and oh yeah, there they are. There's our passengers walking around, as you say, inside. Our businessmen. Wonderful. Right, guys and girls, thank you so much for joining me on today's flight. That's been really good, and hopefully you enjoyed the non-conventional landing approach there at Tivat. Go and try that one for yourself. As I say, the scenery is from Orbx. Really, really nice, very detailed, and I'm sure you'll agree, definitely one worth adding to the catalogue. A big thank you to those of you that flew alongside me on VATSIM, and a huge thank you to those of you that have donated and contributed to the channel's upkeep during the stream as well. As always, I'd like to say a big thank you to our Easyjetsimpilot channel members, so big shout out to you guys for your continued support. I'm going to leave you with one final replay as always as we play this out. Thank you so much, guys, really enjoyed that. I will be back tomorrow, and thank you to all the new subscribers as well over the last few days. Great to have you on board. Thanks very much, everyone. I shall see you all again very soon. Bye bye for now.
$2,500. $1,000. $500. $400. $300. $200. $100. 50, 40, 30, 20,
10, 5,